guys, it's Sylvia here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be learning how to set up a sewing machine to make a wig. A lot of you asked me how to set up the sewing machine, what kind of setting to use, what kind of threads to use. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you an actual video from the Wig Makers Lab, which is my online wig making course. So you actually get to see a behind the scenes peek at what my paying customers see as well. So if you want to learn how to set up your sewing machine to make a wig, then keep watching. The hand wheel is what we use to control the needle. If you notice, every time I turn the hand wheel, the needle moves up and down. The next thing is this dial right here. This is the length of the stitch that you'll be using on your sewing machine. And please write this down. We tend to use a number 4 stitch, so it's the longest stitch on the machine. This is our stitch type. It's currently on a straight stitch, but what we'll be using for this wig is a zigzag stitch, and it's the black stitch right there. When we move to the front of the sewing machine, we will see we have a lever here, which is the reverse lever. So if you've ever made a wig by hand, you'll know that you have to create a knot in order to secure the weft. So this is the equivalent of that. This is a back stitch that you use to secure your wefts. I'm going to turn the wheel just to show you what this is. This is actually the thread take up, and it has a little tension bit inside of it, and the thread has to go all the way around it in order to work. And I'm going to just tilt the machine just so you get a better look at underneath the machine. So right here we have the needle. If you ever needed to change your needle, all you do is unscrew this right here and it will release your needle. If it's too tight, then your sewing machine would have come with some kind of screwdriver, and you can use that to unscrew that button right there. The next thing is the foot of the machine. This is a zigzag foot, and I'm going to release it just to give you an idea of what it looks like. The zigzag foot has the opening in the center of the foot. So it's very important to ensure that you have a foot with the opening right in the middle. So you don't want the ones on the side, you want the ones in the middle. I'm gonna put that back in. Okay, let's move to the top of the sewing machine. This is where we wind our bobbin. And this is the stopper that stops the bobbin from winding once it's full. This is where your thread sits. This dial is the width of the needle of the thread. This dial is the width of the thread. And again, we go for a very wide width. So we always keep it at a 5. So make a note of that. And then the tension that we use is always between 3 and 4. So you'll find that if you're sewing a very light fabric, such as a lace material, you will go for a very low tension because you don't require a lot of tension to sew delicate fabrics. But if you were sewing something like leather, something really thick, then you will go for the highest number in this case, which is a 9. But you don't need to worry about those other numbers. Just make a note that you need to be between tension number 3 and 4, and that will give you the ideal stitch. All these other little buttons you have to go around in order to ensure that your machine sews well. This is the presser foot lifter, and we use it in order to lift up the presser foot so we can get our wig cap under there to sew. It lifts up the presser foot about 1/2 inch wide, and if you want it to lift up a little bit higher, then you have to forcefully push it up, and it lifts it up just a little bit higher for you. This comes in handy if you're sewing very thick hair and you need just a little bit more space to pull your wig cap out. And this is the power button, and that's pretty self-explanatory. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to thread our bobbin. The sewing machine is threaded twice. So the first threading happens at the top of the sewing machine and the second one at the bottom of the machine. And the thread meets up at the feed dog where the thread interlocks to form a stitch. Let me show you how. So we're going to slide this compartment out. This is usually where you have your screwdriver and your spare bobbin and your spare needles when you receive your sewing machine. This is also known as a front-loading sewing machine. So what you do is push down this little door here, and you have to lift up the flap here in order to pull out the bobbin casing. So I'm just going to lift it up and then pull it out. So you'll notice inside we have an empty bobbin, and we're going to thread that bobbin. Let's load the bobbin into the casing. So the first thing you do is, with this front loading sewing machine, you need to lift up this clip on the left right here and pull it out. And then you take your perfectly wound bobbin, hold it in the letter P, and you drop it into the casing. Once it's in, you'll see a little slit on the side right there. And the thread has to go through that slit. Just drag it through the slit until it comes out through the bigger hole. And then you're going to take it back to the machine. And just remember to pull up that flap again in order to get it to lock into place. And that's all you need to do. Close that. We're going to thread the top part of our sewing machine. So just ensure that you go through every single hook that your sewing machine has outlined. Otherwise, your machine won't sew the right way. So the first hook that we want to go through is this one right here. And if you notice, this is a solid line. The solid line going downwards will tell you that's where the sewing machine is to be threaded via, the pathway to follow. So I'm going to take that thread and I'm going to go through that first hook. And then secondly, it wants me to go through this one right here. And then the next step is step number 2. We're going to go down and around to number 3. And then we're going to go up into the thread take-up lever, and that's the metal pin right here. We're just going to go around it, and that's step number 4. And then we're going to pull the thread down. And the next step is one that a lot of my students get confused with, and that's the little hook right here just before the needle. It's a hook that guides the thread into the needle, and the easiest way to thread that part is to use your 2 thumbs and hold the thread in place like this and just glide it into that hook. Once you've got it in there, the final step is to thread your needle, and you do that by threading the needle from front to back. And if you have any questions or if there's anything unclear on what I've done here, you can also refer to the sewing machine manual, because they tend to have little diagrams that will also help you. So once that's in place, we are ready to start sewing. I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on how to set up your sewing machine to make a wig. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Please like this video and subscribe so that you don't miss my future videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.